Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick Lydorf here, episode 76 of Off the Clock. I've done 76 live videos in a row, and I'm here to tell the tale. So, where's my medal or trophy? I don't know. I'm gonna do 365 during this year, and on every Wednesday I have a special guest, and I am really excited to talk to this gentleman. I've done a lot of shows with him. I've learned so much from watching him and our talks before and after the shows. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Stewart Huff. Hey, Stewart, how are you
Hey,
doing, man?
this is live. This is not edited.
It is. It is not
Horrible news.
edited. So.
It's horrible news. Horrible.
Well, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah.
Um, I, I see your background and your backdrop. You said it's your junk room, right?
Yeah, this is the junk room. Yeah.
It looks exactly like my parents were antiquers, and I spent every weekend of my childhood going to antique fairs, and they would buy stuff
I'm
and you've
jealous.
got. Yeah, well, at the time I wasn't. Now I would like it probably a little bit more,
Right.
but yeah, that brings into your podcast, with obsessive curiosities, right?
Obsessive curiosities. Hey,
Yeah.
we can see messages. Garrett says, look at that
Oh yeah,
beard. Look
yeah. Let me put the chat
at
on
that. What is
there.
that deal? I don't
Let
know
me
how any of
see.
this works. Thank goodness.
Okay, yeah. So thanks, Garrett. Yeah, look at that beard. Yep. Yeah, Garrett
Oh,
Elzinga
look at
from
that.
Grand Rapids.
Look at that.
Yep.
Yeah. We call him the Red Wiggler.
Yep.
He's the Red Wiggler.
He's
Yeah, I
been doing
just
stand up since he was 4 years old. So,
I know. And now he's 12 and he's pretty
yeah,
good. Um,
right.
I just stopped cutting the hair, I just stopped, just whatever. I guess it made sense at the beginning because I don't want to go to sit in a room,
Yeah,
right, with
right.
someone, hovering over my face with COVID.
Yeah, it's breathing
So,
all over you. Yeah,
yeah. So just why get a haircut? And then it just if
yeah.
you're not going to cut the hair, you might as well just give up on life. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
let it all just go.
Well,
Um,
it's nice to know that at least you have options with your hair. Mine's just, I don't know. I just been cutting it myself for years now, and
it looks
with all the
great.
money I've been saving.
I love
Uh,
it.
um, so yeah, tell me about because the podcast is you go and you get an item that you just are fascinated with, and then you talk about it. So that's I didn't really.
Yeah,
Is that what it's like, or tell me more about it? I've
yeah.
listened to it, but tell the audience about it.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Ross Duncliffe, who owns On Tour Records, has like huge office space, and he said, "Come up with a podcast idea," and I said, "Okay." And junk is, I call it junk treasures.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I just thought I'll do something with that. So I just get friends in a room and put something on the table. Sometimes it's stupid. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's really controversial. Sometimes it's like I literally don't know what it is. I have no clue.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
found it for $5 and thought I'm buying that. So it's just a bunch of junk, and we end up if it's a good episode talking about the philosophy kind of and a little bit of funny, a little bit of philosophy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. What is the friend's name on that? I can't remember the friend's name, but the older, like, was he in the military?
Lowell Ramey.
Lowell. That's right. I'm
Yeah.
a huge Lowell fan. I
Oh,
like
Lowell
listen
is.
to him.
I talked to him today. Lowell is one of my favorite people.
Hmm.
Whenever someone says to me, "Human beings never change," I usually don't argue with them, but because they're mostly right. But Lowell is my proof that it's possible.
Mm,
He was
that
Lowell went into the military when he was as soon as he was able. He might have even lied about his age and went in
Wow.
early. I don't know. And rose through the ranks. And I don't remember what rank he had when he left, but and then he just had a change of plans. He just philosophically disagreed with a lot of the things that the military does, and literally put the brakes on his life and his life plans, took a right turn, went back to college. And we're not talking at 18. I forget how old he was, but, he's a grown man, and went back to college and majored in early Christian history.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's not a religious person, but he just finds it interesting.
Wow.
And, it was just a complete right turn, which is interesting. And he's one of the most fascinating people that I've ever met. So
yeah,
strong. He is the strong guy on the podcast. No offense to anybody who's on there that's listening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what really fascinates, I just want to get into like your creative like process, because when I first saw you, I didn't know that you were doing, like, you would just pick a topic that you were really fascinated with and you just write a show about it, right? I don't want that's a really simplified version of it.
No, that's
but that
yeah.
So where did that start? And did you have any blowback from that, where people not want to book you or like stuff like that? What, share with me what happened with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think well, let's see. First of all, I think it occurred to me that there are a lot of benefits to not being famous.
Mm-hmm.
A tremendous, you have such freedom, and if you're at a bowling alley in Effingham, Illinois, and you're making $200, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the audience doesn't care. You could kill. You could go up there and have the greatest show ever, and it doesn't affect anything. Or you could, be booed off this. It doesn't really, it doesn't matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, well, then I'm going to do exactly what I want to do, and that's what fascinates me is I like a challenge. I like what comes at the end of a challenge. Like if you succeed, then the reward is greater. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, yeah, you've inspired me a lot, and to set these really big goals. One of which is like, I'm doing a Facebook Live every day for 365 days.
Right.
And it's like the process of doing it. Like that's something that when I got to do shows with you, I really loved watching every time that you would do a set. I was watching you do the one on the Constitution. So we had that set of shows in Michigan and Indiana, and I really enjoyed watching you go through the process of it. And that was, inspired me to start my own show that I was doing that, got cut short because of COVID, but I'm going to keep continuing to do that. So did everybody, were there clubs that were like, we're not really interested in that, and like, thanks but no thanks? Or
yeah, I mean, the way I was doing it, which is, it's not smart, and it's not recommended. I would record every January before COVID. I was recording, about every January, I would record a show, and then I would immediately dump it. No, just dump every joke in, it's gone. And then I would start over again with a new idea. And I would take a year and a half, whatever it took to get it to where I wanted it. And then when January rolled around, I would record it and then dump it all and start again. And so if you booked me in February, you were getting a horrible show. Horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
I mean, I disagree. I've seen it. I've seen you in February, but we're always harsh critics.
The smart way to do it is, there is humor in the Constitution. Yeah.
Yeah. Good quote. Let's get to that in a second, if you wouldn't mind doing that. But yeah, if you want to finish up your thought here.
Yeah, I think the smart way to do it would be, well, let's keep 40 minutes of the funny stuff and add in 10 minutes of new and slowly work it towards that. But what I found was it just takes longer. if I go up,
Mhm.
if I dump everything and then start over with 50 minutes of new ideas, I'm not going to do well. The audience is not going to laugh. I feel like crap. And what ends up happening is I stay up until 5 or 6 in the morning in the Econo
Mm.
Lodge, making sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So, you know, it goes from completely non-funny to decent
Hmm.
quickly because
Mm.
I'm too stubborn. You know what I mean? It's a stubborn
Yeah.
way of writing. So I work very, very, very hard from January, February, March. It's just constantly writing, rewriting, trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
And then once it kind of gets, I'm getting some laughs here and there, and everything's kind of looking okay. Then it starts to I start nitpicking, starting to, really get down into the details and make things, you know, seamless or whatever it is. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Hmm.
to answer your question, yeah, there have been clubs that are like, I just want sex jokes.
Yeah.
I want you to
Yeah.
do that stuff. But Nick, I mean, I'm, I mean, honestly, the amount of money I make is not big, right? I make a living at comedy, but
Hmm.
I don't make a lot of money. So if I go to a club and they say, I don't want this crap. Can't you just do some jokes about getting drunk? Then I mean, what am I really losing if I say, no, that's not really who I am. I mean, no offense to anybody who likes, who does that. I mean, that I
Hmm.
love sex jokes and, they're funny, but
Hmm.
it's not,
Yeah.
I'm not good at them. So, I'm just not good at that kind of humor.
Hmm.
So the clubs that have said I don't like what you do, I say, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry, and then I just don't, I just go somewhere else, you
Yeah.
know. But I think it would be more of a, like if I was turning down $1 million, then it would be like, wow, you really have your
Yeah.
principles. I don't have my principles. I just, you know, I I turned down a gig because I want to do exactly what I want to do. It's more
Mm.
selfishness than principles, really.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I think that um, it with the way it is a harder way to do it because I have participated in what you're doing, and it is very hard to write it. But has there been a point where because I think it was Scott just asked this question, like, did you ever uh, you know what struck you about the Constitution? Let's if you want to talk about that one, that would be cool because I that one for me as a lawyer, that one really like hit me when I saw you do it in Detroit. I was just like blown away by that, and I was also pissed because I wanted to do that same kind of idea. Um, and like I saw you do it, I'm like, I can't. I gotta find some other way to do it now because that
Yeah,
was
you
it
should
was
do
it
it.
was brilliantly done.
I mean, you should do it. I mean, that, to me, that's the fun. One of the fun parts is you say, I started reading about the Constitution because it occurred to me that I didn't know a lot about it and I didn't know my own rights. Like
Mm,
I knew the Bill of Rights. Everybody knows the Second Amendment. Everybody knows freedom of
hmm.
speech. But once you get past that, people get fuzzy. And I realized I don't even know that much about it, and I felt kind of bad, like I should know. So I just on my own, I wasn't even thinking about comedy. I just started reading, and when I was driving around, I would listen to audiobooks about the founding of the country and the fight between the Bill of Rights and the states, and the federal and all that stuff. And then at some point, I thought I'm going to write a show about this, um, all about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And my first thought was, um, it's not funny. Like, and that turns out is like when I think to myself, I can't do that. That's when I get excited. That's
Oh,
when,
you look a challenge.
yeah, that's when I'm like,
Yeah.
well, let's find out. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, I'm
Hmm.
at a wrestling match. Who cares if I
Hmm.
succeed or fail? You know what I mean? So you might as well set the bar wherever you want it and see if you can reach it. So I just started looking for how could I talk about the Constitution and find the funny in it? How is it possible? So
Hmm.
I started digging around through history, and I learned about a lot of people, and I ended up telling stories. The guy that fascinated me the most was Gouverneur Morris.
Oh yeah, Gouverneur Morris.
Gouverneur Morris, who was a womanizer, and he had a peg leg, and he got his peg leg. He was sleeping with somebody's wife, right? Someone texted me. He loved sleeping with married women. That was his thing. He just loved it. So he was on like the second or third floor, something like that, of some apartment building or house or whatever it was, and he was sleeping with someone's wife. And the husband came home, and he jumps out, just leapt out, and he busted his leg so bad they had to cut it off and put on a wooden leg. And everybody knew this. So that's the reason that he's not taught in schools, is because he was a womanizer and a drunk. But he spoke more during the writing of the Constitution. He was the number one speaker. He's the only one. He's the only guy in the room who stood up against slavery. He gave like a 2.5-hour speech about the evils of slavery and how if this country truly wants to start from a good place, it should be outlawed in the Constitution. And everybody listened to him and then went on, ignored him.
Right. Right.
So, I thought, okay, this guy's, first of all, he's unknown, right? I didn't know who he was. I mean, history professors will know him. Students of the Constitution will know him. But the average person like me is not going to know who he is. So that's fascinating. He's got a history that drunk people can connect with. I'm sitting in front of people that are half drunk, staring at someone else's wife. I mean, they can connect with this guy. Right?
You're right.
So the Constitution show, like I don't remember the first joke, but early on, I had some jokes about how I didn't know the Constitution. I didn't know the Bill of Rights. You have to pass a test to become a citizen of this country. Can you imagine if we had to pass a test to stay a citizen? Holy crap. We wouldn't have enough people left to form a ping pong team. Are you kidding me? So early on, I'm admitting that I'm not an elitist. I'm not above you. Yeah. I don't know it either. And then you also don't know it. I bet $100, the average comedy club guy can't just recite the Bill of Rights. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a few, but I couldn't do it. So you know what I mean? So I'm leveling the playing field. Yeah. Then I introduce Gouverneur Morris and tell this funny story about how he lost his leg, how he was pro-slavery, all these things. And then I said something along the lines of, so when Gouverneur actually wrote, he physically wrote the Constitution. All the rich white dudes, they gave it to Gouverneur to physically write it on a piece of paper. So the guy that wrote the Constitution was an anti-slavery peg leg womanizer. Mm-hmm. And then I would say, look, if this doesn't fascinate you, I don't know what I can do for you. You have no curiosity left at all. So now I'm actually telling the audience, come on, this is interesting. Yeah. Come with me. Right. And it worked 80% of the time, 75% of the time. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a challenge. It was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to do what, a bunch of sex jokes or whatever, but, shouldn't we all know the Bill of Rights? And right. And then you would see them, they would be like, I guess you're right. I mean, it wasn't my favorite show, but that question is interesting to me. You're going to take, like I think Scott said, is there humor in the Constitution? It's a great story. Yeah. It's a great question. So you're going to take something that inherently everybody would think is not funny and boring, right? Now go make that funny. Yeah. Now go to Effingham, Illinois, in a bowling alley and make people that are 2 buckets into Bud Lights, make them laugh at that. Right.
And it is a challenge, and you set it up great, very well, because you did it in an approachable way. You're saying, I didn't know about this, and then it's because you learned all this stuff, and you made it so that I'm not preaching to you like, oh my God, why don't you know this? But that's kind of the subtext of what you're saying is like, hey, we should probably know this stuff. If we're going to live in this country, I think we should. Yeah. But it makes it's very accessible.
I mean, that's the fun part of the fun of it to me is you know, if you're going to say, man, I was so drunk last night. Well, you don't have to connect with people, understand what that is. I mean, almost everybody in the crowd can relate to that. If you're going to do something crazy, or not crazy, but if you're going to do something more out there, right, then you've got to figure out a way, how am I going to relate it to people? Or you could go the other way, which is, you know, I'm smarter than you and you're stupid. And to me, that's always been boring.
Yeah.
It's more interesting to how could I figure out a way to connect with people? And you know, you're going to fail a lot. I fail a lot, but.
So how did you, who are some of the people that really inspired you, and were they doing that kind of comedy or what you're doing, or were they doing it in a different way? Or
I really like, I mean, I like Richard Pryor a lot. I like Richard Pryor's vulnerability is what I like about him. That's a naked, he's up on stage saying,
right,
look at this stupid shit I did. You know, that takes, I mean, there's been very few comedians that are that good that they can be that vulnerable. You know, comedy's about power, and when you get to that level of power where you can be vulnerable and still be more confident, you know what I mean? That's like, there's been 5 people in this craft or art form that have reached that. You know, it's incredible. But you know, he taught me that vulnerability is good and it's not something to be scared of. You know,
right?
I love Dana Gould. I think Dana Gould is maybe the best comedian, but I don't know new comedy. I mean, Bill Burr, Louis C.K. I don't know these people. I've heard they're great, but you know, can Pryor's comedy be broadcast today? Scott says. I think it depends on what you mean by broadcast. Yeah, I mean, I think it could. You know, I think there's. I think the more interesting question to me is, would a large scale corporate Hollywood take a shot on Richard Pryor today?
Yeah,
that to me, that's an interesting question. He, you know, he screwed up. He was addicted. He was also just a difficult artist, and he was risky. You know, Pryor wasn't just feeding, you know, the masses what they wanted to hear. He made you think. He challenged religion, not as much as Lenny Bruce or Carlin, but he did challenge religion. He challenged sexuality. He would be a risk.
I mean, we only see, I mean, I've only seen Richard Pryor kill, like just crush it. There's got to be times when, like, if it went bad, I'm sure it went pretty bad.
The story, I think it's the Sunset Strip story, I think, which is, you know, I mean, you watch Richard Pryor in the Sunset Strip, he's just killing. Yeah. But the night before that, he walked out on stage and started talking, and some people were chatting, and there were still some people coming in to find their seats or whatever. And he, about 10 minutes in, something like that, I wasn't there, but this is the story that's told. He just said, nah, I don't feel like it tonight. I just don't feel funny. And he just stopped. Then that was the end of the show. He just walked off stage. I mean, he was, you know, so if you've got, you know, if you're a big Hollywood investor, you're not happy with it. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Know. It's a good question.
Yeah, with a lot of stuff riding on it, you know, like with Netflix and all this kind of stuff, like, yeah, there's a lot of more people, but yeah, there's a lot more riding on it, you know, with them, if they're going to invest something like that, what would they, you know, what would their tolerance be? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, Dave Chappelle did that in Detroit. I remember he came out and just smoked a cigarette for, I think it was at least a half an hour. We smoked several cigarettes. Yeah. Yeah, so Richard Pryor,
Oh yeah, we were talking about
Dana
improv.
Gould.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I like comedy. I think Lenny Bruce is probably the best comic that ever lived. I listen to Lenny. I don't people that say he isn't funny, I disagree with that. I think he's funny, but he's not all funny.
Right.
Which is to me what I like. I listen to Lenny Bruce like an audiobook. And I love I don't want laughter all the time. I like, to me, interesting is equal to laughter.
Yeah.
So to me, if I'm watching you and you say something that I go, huh, I've never thought about that before. That's fascinating. That's equal to a laugh to me. If you're vulnerable and you share something honest with me on stage and you make me feel something, that's equal to a laugh. If you can do all three, that's just next level stuff. Is you can show vulnerability and say some interesting things and make me laugh. It's just stunning, you know.
I think the vulnerability thing is something that is a lot of people don't. A lot of comedians I see, they're afraid to say that, afraid to be vulnerable, even in 2020, because I don't know, you just don't. There's some people that I'll watch them and I'm like, wow, this is funny, but then like I don't really know what they're about. At the end of their set, it's like, who is this person? I mean, is it just and it's on the spectrum between, are they an interesting human being or are they a joke machine? Like, and it's a I've heard people say, like, I don't want the audience to think, if they're thinking they're not laughing, I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, it's
I think it's whatever you want to do. I mean,
sure.
I think that would be a better comedy world if everybody would say, here's what I want to do. And so if you say, well, I don't want them thinking, I want them laughing. Okay, great. Then go make them laugh. Second of time, that's great. Go do it. But don't judge someone else because they don't agree with that.
For sure.
Now you're just trying to make everybody the same. I laugh the hardest at the dumbest comedy. Just, there's no thought even near it. And it makes me cackle. And when I watch Dana Gould, I don't laugh. I think, wow, God, that's so good. And I want to be, that's what I like. So that's what I'm trying to be. Not exactly like Dana Gould, but I'm trying to be more like that. That's who I am. I'm not funny. I'm not. I never have been funny. And to be honest with me, the jokes, the older I get, they're kind of annoying. It's like, oh my God, okay, so I've written this thing now, and now I've got to come up with some punchlines to satisfy you, That's the way it feels to me now. And and there's the only jokes that I really laugh at that I write are the ones that I consider like common sense jokes. And they're hard to write. There's like, I've written a couple, maybe in 25 years. I don't know, maybe I've written 3 or 4 that are like, you can't hate science and love NASCAR.
Right.
It's impossible. NASCAR without science is called running. That joke is, you cannot form an argument against that joke. You just can't. So when I wrote that, I went, there's one. I don't care what anybody, and I've seen people, in the audience so mad. It's great,
Yeah. Do you always start with that bit of truth? Is that where you want to start when you're writing, or what's your?
My favorite thing that I've ever written is a show called God Hates Ann, and I don't remember what I was reading, but there was a Facebook killing, I guess, or something. I think it was in Brazil, where some rumor gets started that some girl's a witch, and they end up stoning her to death. Not the government of Brazil, but a bunch of people. And I just thought, this is never going to stop. Like, I don't think it'll ever stop. It's this type of stupidity has been going on, since the beginning. And I don't think it's getting any better. I just think it's a little different now, to where, what I mean? You rarely hear about a witch being killed now, what I mean? But you just remove the word witch and it's the same crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought to myself at some point, for some reason, I wonder if I can do a comedy show, showing people throughout history being put to death for either writing a book, inventing something, or saying something out loud, right? Whatever it is. I think homosexuals should be allowed to be married. Well, we'll kill you, And so and then when I thought of that, I thought that, first of all, trying to get laughs on people being killed for being good, like, someone's going to stand up and say something in public. You want to root for them. And then I'm going to tell about how it's hard to make that kind of death funny. So immediately I was interested. Can I do it?
Yeah.
So I started researching and I started digging, and then at the beginning, it's not funny at all. And then the more the more you get mad and frustrated and think you suck and I'm not good enough to do this. And then, then eventually some night in the middle of Kentucky, you say the words in the right order, and it worked, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, it worked tonight. Holy crap, it worked. And then you get excited. And I'm like, gee, this might actually, and I go back to the hotel room and start tinkering again. And the next night it's different. And before you know it, you've figured it out. Yeah. And that's my favorite feeling in the world, is when I figured something out that I didn't think I was good enough to figure out. Then I don't know what it is about. It's like I just feel, I've written a joke before and I go up and tell it and it works. And I think, oh, okay, good. That's great. I've also written lots of jokes that I go up and tell and they don't work at all. But just writing a joke does not bring me the level of satisfaction that I just wrote 65 minutes of people being put to death throughout history. And the audience laughed from start to finish.
The challenge in that, right? There was,
I mean, it's just a reward that no individual joke has ever brought me. Now, if I was the type of person that was like, I don't want them to think, I just want, then maybe I wouldn't breathe, maybe I don't get any satisfaction. Maybe I get satisfaction of laughs per second or whatever it is. It's fine.
Have you always written like this, or was there a point in time where you were more, jokey punchline, kind of comedian? Have you evolved? I guess that's my question.
I don't think I've evolved as a human at all. I think I devolved. I devolved. Yeah. When I started out doing comedy, like literally like the first year, I was trying to do these kind of weird, completely non-funny ideas. And I learned, wait a minute, this is not, like, I literally don't know how to tell a joke. And I'm trying to do, so then I just started, how do you tell a joke? How do you write a joke? So I would write jokes. I would try to write jokes that I didn't care if they were lies. I mean, well, there was a limit, you know what I mean? But if I needed if I needed to work at a pizza place, then I worked at a pizza place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just tried to write jokes, and I wasn't very good at it, but I learned the structure of a joke. And then I thought, okay, how do you tell a story? Like, how do you link jokes together? Nick, I probably spent 5 or 6 years, maybe more, just trying to learn the basics. And then after 10 years or so, I went back. I didn't think about it that way, but looking back on it, that's what happened. Then all of a sudden I was like, I want to do that thing that I was trying to do at the beginning, which is more of a, whatever you want to call it. It's more of a philosophical based comedy than anything else. And so then I went back and started to try to learn how to do that. And that's a different type of comedy. And so then I failed all over again. And at that point, by the way, I had developed an act where I could go in and do 45, 50 minutes of funny jokes that worked. And then when I decided, this isn't fulfilling me. I don't really like this.
Yeah.
And then when I thought, okay, I want to do more philosophical type of stuff, there were clubs. That's really the point where there were a lot of clubs then. I say a lot, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 that I had been working for, 5 or 6 years. And they said, what are you doing? Why don't you do this bit or that bit or this bit? And I was like, I don't want to do that stuff anymore. And they were like, well, then I'm not going to hire you anymore. And at that point, I had to make a decision. Do I want to? But like I said before, it wasn't a big, you know what I mean? It's not like I had some kind of moral structure. I'm going to stand up. You know what I mean? It's like, do I want to compromise who I am for $800? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just said no, and then I won't go back to your club. But then I ended up finding other clubs that liked what I was trying to do. So then I'm ultimately a happier person. I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have stayed in comedy if I wouldn't have made that choice. If I would have kept doing the jokes that worked but didn't really make me happy, I would have quit. Which probably would have been smart looking back on it. Yeah, I should have quit and gone back to college.
What would you have done if you would have quit?
I think I probably would have gone back to college, And
like, what would you want to do? Study or?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's things that interest me. I don't know if I'd be any good at them. But am I sounding depressed? I'm just being.
No, No, I get it. No,
I like anthropology a lot. I think that's fascinating. Studying human behavior interests me, and I tend to think that way. Do you know what I mean? I tend to like to watch. I don't really want to be part of the group. I want to watch, So I don't know. Maybe anthropology. I don't know.
Yeah. I've been, I want to ask you this because you've toured all around the country, and you've run into a lot of stupid people, and you've written about stupid people. And when you mentioned anthropology, I'm fascinated at sovereign citizens. And I don't know. Have you ever talked to one of these people before? Have you ever had an encounter? So sovereign citizens, people that think that the government doesn't apply to them. You ever run into them before?
I mean, I've never met anybody that said I'm a sovereign citizen, but
right.
But this idea is, I mean, when you read the Constitution and you study and you learn a little bit, I'm no expert by any means, but you learn a little bit of it, you realize that 75% of this country is just dumber than hell. I mean, it's incredible. Like I really honestly feel like a dumb person, but I look around and I think, I'm not a smart person, but they've lowered the bar so low. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the, like right now, like you don't even have to read to be considered smart anymore. I know. It's just like literally there's 35% of this country that if you are not actively against reading, you're uppity. If you're not carrying a sign that says "I hate reading," then you're Antifa. It's
exactly.
The bar's got to be so low. I mean, there's like the right now people like anti-vaccination. I'm not. I don't have to get blah blah blah. That's not the way the Constitution works. It's not whatever. These people, I'm against the government or whatever. Fine, then you have to figure out another way. You can't drive around on the roads and use the post office and say I'm against it.
I know. That's my best art. Yeah, you
You
have a
know,
power system. Are you using power? Are you on the grid? Or like
right? Like
it's just wild.
I am personally, I don't care where you are politically. I really don't. I care less now than I did 10 years ago. I don't care anymore. Whatever. You know what I mean? I think it's fascinating to watch it go down the drain. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah.
the only thing I'm positive about is I want to stop humans from going to Mars. That's, you know what I mean? We need to be stopped here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the number one threat to this world is humans spreading to other planets. That's the number one threat. Um, but you can't, it's like the NASCAR joke. You can't say, I'm a sovereign citizen, and you live in the country and
Yeah.
enjoy the stuff that it provides. What do you,
Yeah.
I just don't, it's so frustrating. It's like, this is really honest and really arrogant, but it's almost like we can't even have a discussion about, actual, agendas or policies or anything like that, because you can't even get to the point where
I know.
you're just a hypocritical idiot. And
Yeah.
you can't see that. You have to be able to see
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. You can't have an argument with somebody or a debate if you can't start with the premise that there's some sort of reality, right? Because
Yeah.
then they can always just move the goalpost, and it's just like it's so fascinating.
I mean, just because you got 219 likes does not make it true.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care how many retweets you got.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need
Yeah.
more proof than a retweet.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's wild.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting, this whole COVID thing and the way the country is right now. Like I don't know. I'm very interested in like where I am mentally. I
Mhm.
barely care anymore at all.
I know. I know.
I just don't. I used to
I'm
care.
just so yeah. It's just like so burnt out
Yeah, I'm
of
fried.
things.
I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting,
Um
Nick, because the type of comedy I was doing before COVID, I mean, for a decade before it, required hope. You know,
yeah.
every show I wrote, there were dips and valleys and what have you, but there was always hope involved in it.
Yeah, at the end. It came to a crescendo where it's like, these people came together. Like you told the story about Hugo Black, right?
Yeah.
That's a fascinating story. I when in law school, I read a footnote on that, but you don't get into like deep things about some guy because you're like on to the next case. But
Right.
yeah, that's a fascinating part. And like you said, that gives you hope.
Right. I mean,
We can change.
every show that I wrote for 10 years before COVID involved some sort of hope at the end or throughout or something. And to be totally honest, I don't really have hope anymore. But but I don't have comedy either.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
I don't know.
Have you been able to get back to do anything?
I've done 10 or 12 shows in the last year.
Okay.
And I'm not working on anything at all because I realized that I need an audience to really, upset me or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, like Zoom shows they're so hard. I mean, like people that, like families like, well, why don't you just do a show on Zoom, set one of those up? I'm like, it's not the same, it's not the,
I've done no Zoom shows. This sounds crazy, but this sounds really arrogant too, but there's nothing to gain.
Right.
So if you said, which you and I have done this, like you said, well, do you want to come to Michigan? It's probably not going to make any money, but
right.
But it's in a cool venue. It's in some old church or whatever. And
the flood. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I do want to do that.
Yeah.
Then I chose to do that, not for the money, for the, to hang out with Nick, to work on my show, to do a cool venue. And then maybe there's another thing the next week where someone says, well, you're not going to want to do this, but it pays $5,000. Okay. Well, then I did that one for the money. But a Zoom show, I don't know if any of my ideas are hitting or not hitting. I can't really get a feel for it.
Yeah.
I don't see why I'm not benefiting at all. Matter of fact, I'm probably leaving the Zoom show thinking, God, I suck. This is horrible. I just don't. I'm not interested in that. No offense to anybody who's really good at it. But.
Yeah. It's a different kind of animal. I think it's hard to. So what do you? Are you still doing the podcast? What are you working on now? Are you just trying to make it through this and try and get to be able to? Is there anything you're waiting for? Are you waiting for a vaccine, or what's your?
I got my first shot today, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
awesome.
My first shot today. I don't know. It's a good question. It's been fascinating because what I learned. I was on the road. I like what Scott said. Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Rehope. Yeah. I was on the road a lot before COVID, 40 to 45 weeks a year. And that was my life for a long time. And then it just stopped. And what's interesting, what I've learned is I don't miss the shows. I thought I would, but I don't miss the shows. I miss driving. I miss hanging out with interesting friends.
Yeah.
I miss like my daughter's coming home. Hey, Oms, I'm doing a podcast thingy. It's like a live deal or something, so it won't be edited. I don't miss the shows that much. I just don't. And the ones I've done lately are literally like, I don't really know I have no plans at all. I have nothing I'm working on. I just go up and tell old bits, and it's gone well and I've had some fun, but it doesn't fulfill me. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but it is, taking me and my emotions out of it. It's interesting that I don't miss comedy. I miss the lifestyle.
Yeah, that is. We were talking about some friends the other day. That's what I miss the most is hanging out and getting to talk with people and watching people do really well and watching the sets that don't go well, or you'll try what we could learn from it. And it's that's what I miss the most too. And you're right, the driving too. I did miss that a lot. Like it's nice to just be alone with your thoughts sometimes and then learn things too, because I've listened to books on tape too. But yeah, these, I'm sure your car is thanking you because you're not putting many miles on it in the past year. But
I did. I think I don't think I fully realized how much I was addicted to driving. It was part of who I was, and I, completely alone, and I control the environment.
Yeah.
And it's childish. It's like your brain can just go and just think, and just be curious. Yeah. And I loved it, So yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'll still do comedy. I have no idea. I mean, I was offered a show this week and I took it. I mean, I'm not turning anything down, but I have a family. It's going to have to get back to where I can pay my bills completely. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it'd have to come back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for talking with me. This was a lot of fun. And I know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It flew by. I mean, it's like almost an hour.
It flew by. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always good to catch up with you. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that sometimes as comedians we don't say it enough, but like there are a lot of people that like are like, wow, Stewart Huff is like a fantastic comedian, and you're such a nice person, and you've been so generous with me, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know. That's very nice of you to say. I'm inside me, so I do not feel like those people think I'm a fantastic comedian, then they ought to come with me on the road, and I'll prove them wrong.
Well, I worked with you a lot, and you even when you said you didn't do well, there was a great. I saw you do like turn a crowd around before, like just so much that you can learn from watching someone that's as good as you. So yeah, if you haven't seen Stewart Huff, you definitely got to check him out. Do you have stuff on YouTube?
I think there's the Red Wiggler, Garrett.
Yeah.
Watching apparently right now. He has a slightly sore arm. Nothing too bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got vaccinated. He just during COVID he edited a special together of that show I was talking about, God Hates Ann.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's some stuff on YouTube that shows on there. I think that CD is God Hates Ann. I don't know, Nick. I
don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram. Right. None of that stuff. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. But if you're interested, you can find it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people in the 50s found Chuck Berry. Right? There wasn't the internet then. You know, they knew Chuck was coming to town.
Right. So thank you so much. I'm gonna say goodbye to them, and then if you want to hang on 1 second afterwards, that'd be great. So okay. Stewart Huff, check him out. He's amazing. All right, thank you. Thanks everybody. Stewart Huff is great. Make sure you check him out. You can find his albums. I think you can listen to him online. Definitely buy his stuff though. He's very funny guy. And if you go to a show, talk to him afterwards. It's a great person to have a conversation with. So thanks so much for episode 76. I'll be back tomorrow for at some point episode 77, and I hope you have a good rest of your night.